Welcome to the 3rd Gen Workshop, everybody. If you like our videos, please take a minute and hit that subscribe button. In today's video, in the trailer project series, we are installing 16 LED auxiliary lights, a 12-volt 4-gang rocker switch to control those lights, and terminating the power and ground to the onboard battery. Let's get started. I plan to put in a 4-switch panel over here behind the battery. We're going to install 4 more of these rectangle lights at the back of the trailer, flanking the extra lights we put in for backup when we ran the trailer wiring. These 4 lights will be switched, so I can turn them on when the truck's not in reverse, so I can light up behind the trailer when I'm loading a car at night and I just need light behind the trailer. So 4 of these. Then we're going to put 6 more of these on. 2 of them are going to be hanging down like this at the front of the trailer, pointing towards the truck. And then there will be 2 more of these that will go on the trailer, one on each side, like this, on the side of the trailer. And then I'll have a pair that sit underneath. So this way I can light up the deck and light up down the side of the trailer. So in total, we're going to be putting 10 more lights on. And as we put those 10 lights on, we'll run a different color wire for each.
Get these mounted up in place. I'm going to get the nut started on the top. The inside one is part of the backup lights, and the outside 2 are floods for working on, whatever I'm working on behind the trailer, whatever car I'm hooking up. The other 4 lights for back of the trailer are installed. I'm going to get this thing positioned where I want it before I tighten it all the way down. We have finished up installing the 6 square lights, 2 on the left front, 2 facing front towards the truck, and then we've got the 2 on the other side on the right. So we're going to install this switch box back here behind the battery box. Again, I've already got the holes drilled, both for the cables and for the mounting points. I have my switch box mounted onto the trailer deck. When it's all said and done, it's going to be mounted in this position. Some advantages to this box is dedicated ground, dedicated hot. This hot powers all the switches. So all of my grounds for my lights, I'm gonna wire to the white wire on my trailer harness and ground them out through the harness. The hot wire I will run to whichever circuit I'm going to run it to here. When I run the wires, I already have my hole back here to run everything up. All the lights are in place. The switch box has been mounted. Now it's just time to wire all of my lights. And what I've decided to do is, in order, we're going to go front, which is the front lights to shine under the truck, the tongue or the deck here, the rear deck for the 6 lights that will light up the car deck, and then the 4th will be the rear lights that we're wiring for behind the trailer. This one will be, the rear lights will be purple, the deck lights will be orange. The tongue storage light will be blue, and the front lights facing the truck will be yellow. Now, I didn't video it, but I've already pulled the orange, the long runs of the orange and the purple down the back of the trailer. And now we're going to start wiring up the yellow on the front. Just let that hang and cool for a second, because that plastic's very malleable. You don't want to pull on it because you will break it. But once it cools, it'll never go away, and it'll be perfectly solid. Like that, let that cool for a minute. All right, I have my heat gun or my heat shrink pulled. I am going to use the bigger heat shrink gun for this because it's a lot thicker heat shrink than the small joints that I was doing. So this is a little, when it's hot, it's still a little malleable. So I just kind of work it. The nice thing is that's sealed connector or sealed end. So I had enough of this white wire that I pulled through for all my grounds through the frame that I could just pull it straight through. So we're just going to connect this one up with the existing wire that I pulled, and then I just have to hook up my yellow wire and run my yellow wire up to my switch. Once those are done, then these two wires from the right side will butt in. We'll tee them in. I've already heat shrunk the 4 wires together to run through this hole. When I get these at the top, we'll connect these, we'll drop another piece of heat shrink on, connect these to the 2 lights that are up there, heat shrink all that, so there'll be full heat shrink all the way down and through the steel deck. I pulled enough of this heat shrink wire through so I can snip this off and then solder join these connections together. Now we'll run these wires through, and that gives me plenty to work with here. We'll get everything join together, and then this will shrink up over everything, and then I'll pull down the rest of this remaining wire. One thing I just wanted to point out, whenever you're doing close quarters heat shrinking like this, before you put the final heat shrink on, I got a 12-volt battery and some test cables, and I went underneath, and I just validated that all the lights work. So all of this will collapse nicely. So right there are my connectors. This gets me up high enough on the end, so everything will be nice and shrunk. Now I'll use my big heat gun to collapse all this. And we'll just gently pull this down so it all marries up. And now we can secure this with some adhesive and zip ties. Here are the lights for the on the tongue deck for the winch and in the storage box. And then this one and this one are my front back of the truck lights. For the front lights and for the storage box lights, the wiring, I have routed my cable in wire loom. You can see right here where the wire comes down from storage box up top, and I brought it in. And then over here for this light, I've brought the wire loom up, and I have everything will join together right here. Now when I join this together, I'm going to go down to a single white wire and a single yellow wire and a single blue. So when I come up here, I'll join this yellow and this yellow, this white to this white, because this is the long one that's going to tie into the rest of the ground. These two whites will also tie into this one. This smaller blue will tie into this blue. That'll all be tucked up here, and then you have one blue, one white, and one yellow that will come out. The blue and the yellow will go up to the switch box. The white will go to the ground. And before I run all those wires, we'll put some heat shrink to get it up here together.
Okay, the 5 ends are on. Again, down to 1 blue, 1 white, 1 yellow. Blue and the yellow ones are done. Now it's just all about getting the 3 whites. And just like that, we'll put one more tie up there to secure all these. But just like that, we have our 3 wires, and we'll do a test with that 12-volt battery before we're done, just to make sure that everything that you know, that nothing's come loose and everything is still working as it should. Tighten down all these other ones that we put in earlier. So there's my junction point. Now this will come to here. The yellow and blue will go up. The white will come through and terminate out with the rest of the white out on the other side. We will add some heat shrink to this to get it to about here, and then we'll add some heat shrink to bring the purple and the orange up with it. So all this stuff will get heat shrunk together. So we've gone, you know, from this connection point, and we heat shrinked it, and now we've got our run, so we can get up into the hole that we have for the switch. So my blue, yellow, purple, and orange are all exactly where I need them to be, and now we're going to run a piece of heat shrink up for these to bring all these together. cables up so we see how much we need, plus a little bit of slack to connect them up into switch box. We're going to run the ground and the hot wire from the box in the same heat shrinks. We'll have 6 wires that go up through that hole. So we'll run these up and then we'll trim these to length. Now I'm going to drop my white wire for my ground, and I'm going to use red for my hot that go to my battery. The instructions for this switch show both these wires running to the battery. Remember, the battery is grounded. And to stay consistent, the white wire is going to go to the black. So we're going to run a white wire as our ground to the black ground wire on the switch. And then we're going to run red wire for the hot from the switch to the battery. We're gonna cut these wires that we ran up off so we can see how much we need. Gonna leave a little bit of extra slack. Pull the white and red wire through this hole. Put the heat shrink on. The wires all run heat shrinked up through the hole. I've got the heat shrink for these ready to go when I put the connections on. But before I terminate my front lights and my front tongue and storage block lights, we're going to test these. Now I've got my 12-volt battery here. I've got it grounded to my larger battery, which is grounded to the frame. So that will provide me the ground for the battery. I should be able, because I have these wires, the grounds for the lights already grounded to the trailer, it should give me a constant ground all the way through. So I'm just going to test the front lights and make sure that they both work by touching the yellow, and they do. And then we'll touch the blue, and I can see my lights coming on for my storage box. Ground out to the battery, positive, and they work. Everything's good. Next, we're gonna get the deck lights wired up. The wires have been run. We need to hook the wires up to the harness so we can then utilize these cables. To wire up the deck lights, I'm using orange. I've got to run pair of wires up here so I can wire them up top, and then they'll loop down into the orange and white that are backed by the harness. Here are the wires that we just ran up through the bottom of the trailer. What we'll do is one set will get terminated directly in, and then the other set will get teed on. Just like the other lights that we've done from this company that we bought them from. Black is ground, so black to white, red to orange in this case. Now I've cut them to length, and we're going to run them back over here. I might need to cut off just a little bit more. Don't need a lot of extra slack. this point, if you wanted to use your 12-volt test battery and strip the orange wire switch panel, you could, just to make sure that everything works. I'm going to go ahead and finish wiring up the 4 other locations, and then we'll terminate this into the switch. The deck lights are fully wired. All 6 are working as expected. The only thing I have left to do now on the auxiliary lighting is the rear lights for when I'm loading cars, so the rear work lights. I had 2 more of these left over from the box of 10, and I realized if I'm loading cars on my trailer and I'm using these back lights for rear illumination, it would be nice to have some illumination under the deck so I could see the ramps and stuff. I drilled 2 holes in my wire channel, painted them so they won't rust. I'm going to install these down here on those L channels where all the wires are running. So 1 on each side facing in. Now I'm going to face 2 of these like this so I can shine up underneath the trailer, and then we will wire these in with the rear lights. This one's all wired up. We're going to wire up the other one the same way. And then the 4 lights in the back on the purple, and all of the auxiliary wiring and lights will be done. The last of the auxiliary lights are all wired up, including the ones that we placed underneath at the last moment. We have our last 4 connections started. Now we're going to wire these in. Next one will be orange, purple, and then we'll do the actual leads for power and ground. We have ground everything to the battery. There's the ground, there's the power. All the switches are in the on position, and everything appears to be working without any issue. These are all working. These are all working. All the backlights, everything's working from the battery. Well done. Thank you for watching. If you like these videos, please hit the subscribe button. In our next video in the Trailer Project series, we will be installing the breakaway kit for our electric brakes.